He tried to remove her helmet. "Let me see you." "No," she said. "Not after what they did to me." The airlock hissed as the door sealed behind them. The cold, sterile light of the station's corridor reflected off the metallic walls, bouncing onto their suits. Her helmet glinted faintly under the harsh illumination, hiding her face but not her tension. He stepped closer, careful but insistent. "Let me see you," he said softly, almost pleading. She stiffened. Her gloved hands gripped the sides of her helmet. "No," she replied, her voice muffled but firm. "Not after what they did to me." His brow furrowed. I need to know you're okay." "You don't," she said, her tone sharper now. "You don't know. Nobody knows." He paused, realizing that this wasn't about fear of physical injury or the station's dangers. This was deeper, older, something that burned inside her long before they arrived at this isolated outpost. She turned slightly, as if to flee, but the narrow corridor left her no choice but to face him. Her eyes, visible to the visor's thin layer of condensation, were hard, guarded, yet even through the glass, he could sense the storm beneath the surface. "I remember the stories," he said quietly. "You don't have to tell me." She laughed, bitter and low. "Stories? You think stories explain this?" She shook her head slowly. "They took everything. My face, my identity. They wanted me to disappear." Her words hit him harder than he expected. He had known danger was part of their mission, had known the risks when he agreed to this assignment. But he hadn't expected this. This history of violation, this silent trauma she carried beneath her suit. He lifted a gloved hand, but stopped midair, unsure if his gesture would comfort her or break the fragile boundaries she had erected. I'm not going to touch it," he said. I want to see you smile again, even a little." Her eyes darted toward the airlock behind them, toward the void of space beyond the station, and then back at him. There was a flicker of something, hesitation, maybe curiosity, but it vanished quickly. "You don't get it," she whispered. "Not everyone gets to see me." "I'm asking," he said gently. "I'm asking because I care." Her shoulders slumped slightly. The fight seemed to leave her just a bit, though her hands never unclenched. "Care, huh?" she murmured. "You think that fixes it? After what they did?" He shook his head. "No, but it doesn't hurt to try, does it?" The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken fears and memories too vivid to name. The hum of the station system seemed louder, the walls closer, the air thicker. Finally, she spoke, softer this time. I'm not the same person I was. Not ever again." "I don't expect you to be," he said. "I just want to meet who you are now. Not the past. Not what happened. Just you." Her visor fogged slightly as she exhaled, and for a moment, he could see a glimmer of the girl she had been. The one before the darkness, before the strangers, before the betrayal. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice trembling under the helmet. "I'm scared if I let you see me, it will all come back." "It will," he acknowledged. "But sometimes facing the past with someone who cares makes it a little less scary." She shook her head. "You don't know. You can't know." "I'll never know exactly," he said. "But I'll try. I'll try to understand. And I'll be here, even if it takes forever." She regarded him silently. Seconds stretched into minutes as the station's lights hummed overhead. Finally, her hands relaxed slightly, just enough to let him see a crack in her armor. Not a smile, not yet, but a sign of willingness, however fragile. I can't," she said, her voice barely audible. "Not now. Maybe someday. But not now." He nodded, hiding his relief that she had spoken at all. "Okay," he said. "I'll wait, as long as it takes." She exhaled slowly, the sound echoing faintly inside her helmet. It's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't trust me. Not after everything." "I understand," he replied, "and I'll respect it. But don't shut me out completely. Let me help, even from the edge. That's all I ask." Her eyes softened for a brief, fleeting moment, and then the hardness returned, a shield formed from years of survival. "We'll see," she murmured, almost to herself. He didn't push further. He simply walked beside her, matching her pace as they moved through the sterile corridors. Words weren't necessary for a while. Their shared presence said more than anything could. In the quiet of the station, he realized that healing wasn't a single act. It wasn't removing a helmet or forcing confession. Healing was patience, presence, the gentle persistence of someone willing to stand by you when a world had turned cruel. Hours passed. They checked systems, logged data, maintained the station's fragile equilibrium. Yet all the while, he felt the weight of her past, the scars that weren't visible but were etched deep within. At one point, she paused by a viewport, staring into the void. The stars stretched endlessly, a canvas of light and dark. "You know," she said, her voice softened before, "sometimes I feel like I'm floating out there lost, unseen." "You're not," he said firmly. "Not anymore. Not while I'm here." Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the straps on her helmet. He wanted to reach out to assure her physically, but he restrained himself. Respecting boundaries was part trust. He reminded himself. She glanced at him through the visor, a faint light of acknowledgement flickering in her eyes. It wasn't victory and it wasn't reconciliation, but it was a beginning. "Maybe someday," she said quietly, "I'll let someone see me, really see me, not just the armor, not just the helmet, but me. I'll be here," he promised. "I'll wait as long as it takes." And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible nod. Not a smile, not forgiveness, just a silent agreement that the future, fragile and uncertain, might one day allow light where there had only been darkness. The station systems hummed on, indifferent to human pain, human fear, human hope. And yet, in that small, insulated world of metal and air, two people found a quiet understanding, one that needed no words, one that respected wounds without erasing them, one that began with patience, presence, and the simple promise to wait. They walked on together, side by side, the corridor stretching endlessly before them, one step at a time, one moment at a time, letting the quiet strength of shared space and unspoken trust fill the gaps left by the past. And perhaps, someday, the helmet would come off,